I saw you on the internet passed out face down on a bed midday today. I thought that was pretty much you.
Wait a second. What?
Yeah.
My wife posted
You
that.
don't follow the Faces of Jesse account? Yeah, your wife posted that.
Ow. I was not passed out. I was just taking a sleep.
I mean, face down nap with clothes on. I don't care how you got there. I think that's passed out. It could be lack of sleep. It could be other things, but
we're shoes on. Yes.
Yeah, shoes on, clothes on. Really, do you think shoes on is the thing, Steve?
Yeah, I think so.
If it's shoes on, it's passed out.
That's full pass out.
Yeah, okay.
Same with socks, because let's be real, it's the same thing.
God. If you sleep in socks, get out of here.
You're a sociopath.
I'm not going to argue any of those points.
Okay, good. I thought you were about to get on a hill about sleeping in socks, and I was going to say, we have a problem, Jesse.
I'm not going to get on any hill right now. I know who I am.
That one really gets me. I see people like in movies that like get into bed with their socks on, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, in what world?
Why?
It's a ridiculous thing.
It makes me think that like the people that are like editing movies need to be paying closer attention, because that's like, no.
Yeah, should be catching on to that one.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, welcome to the Campfire Passport Podcast.
Oh.
Shit, I was going to steal that from you. I was waiting for like a little bit. I was like, I wonder how long it's going to take Sean.
It's only been stolen from me the one time now, right, Colin? I think
so, yeah.
Oh, I have to say something. This is episode 044.
Yes.
And I want to make sure that we immortalize this podcast as the one that is Lewis Hamilton's number the week before he loses British GP that he will definitely lose.
Yeah.
But he might be in the top 10, and it'll be amazing.
Yeah, he might get pole, but we'll see.
Maybe not. Might mess around and get pole position.
Keep dreaming.
Yeah, next year.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard there was a Yabba Dabba Doo for some reason after that vampire George Russell won. and nobody understood, like it was completely out of context. Nobody understood why he even... Is that like he wishes he had a saying, and so he just
came up with a saying? It's possible. Yeah, he's the kind of guy that would come up with his own saying. He's like the guy that comes up with his own nickname, I think.
He didn't really come up with his own saying because that's straight out of the Flintstones.
Steals his own saying, I should say.
I don't like George Russell, so let's just put it there.
I don't dislike him. I don't think he's a bad guy, but I don't think he's a likable guy. He's just a...
No.
What's the word? Mid. He's very mid, and he is definitely a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
He is from Transylvania.
He's either the vampire or he is straight yoked out on cocaine all the time.
He's not excited enough.
That's true. He is pretty calm, but the facial expression is very cocaine-y.
I think it's just vampire.
Yeah.
Straight vampire. He's so pale, too.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I'm not saying I'm English, super tan, but he is super pale.
There's not a lot of sun in England.
Yeah. I think he makes Max Verstappen look like a tan guy, and he's he's not.
How do you make a Dutchman look
tan?
George Russell next to
a Brit.
He makes him look way cooler too, and it's like, man, he's also boring as hell. And here he is.
Well.
Two least favorite drivers.
And that's been your F1 minute.
Yeah, today's F1 minute. That's brought to you by +44, Lewis Hamilton's new streetwear brand, and that's what
that we can't afford.
Yeah, probably not.
Cheesy Pete.
Yeah,
I can't even imagine what it costs.
It's not. I'm going to say it's not that bad, and someone's going to look it up and call me out.
Yeah, here we go.
It's expensive, but not like crazy fashion expensive. It's like $110 sweatshirt, right? Which is expensive.
Oh my god!
I'm not saying it's not expensive, but if you start looking up other things, That is not that expensive.
What's it called?
That's expensive.
Plus 44. It's expensive.
Like
I just said it.
Spelled out, or
I don't know.
Or is it like just a plus sign in 44? Like, how do you do this?
Let's see.
Hey,
sorry, viewers.
Our sweatshirts cost
Custom
$35.
baseball.
Do they?
Wait. I guess Colin might correct me on this.
That seems very cheap. They should be $45, and if they're not,
we have sweatshirts.
We're about to raise them.
That's true.
To $80. Our unreleased sweatshirts are going to be $80, which are a bargain compared to Lewis Hamilton's.
I see. Plus 44 is a super group according to this. That looks like it has Blink-182 members.
Plus44.world is the website.
Plus44.world.
Oh, so he's
I don't make the rules.
Elitist that he's not even a .com. It's a .world.
I mean, he's Lewis fucking Hamilton. Of course he is.
Oh, come on.
Oh, wow. This site is so 90s. Oh my god. It's got fucking lightning bolts.
It is
oh man.
Significantly more fashionable than we ever will
Plus
be.
44/soldier.
Yeah, I think that's a street maybe a not tattoo, a graffiti artist or something. I was just looking for stuff this morning.
The shirt this shirt is like I feel like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, I mean that's
is
the vibe,
what this
right?
shirt would be. $85 for a t-shirt?
Get the fuck out of here.
$50 for a regular t-shirt?
I'm saying I can find you much more expensive, outrageous things quickly.
$125, $85 for shorts.
That's the bar.
If we're sticking on F1,
$50 hat.
Did you guys ever see the cost of the AlphaTauri stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is my point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ooh, the sticker pack's only $12, guys.
Hey, we can get one of those. We can share it.
Is the shipping at least free?
$20.
I doubt it because it's coming out of jolly old England.
Jolly old England.
Across the pond.
Heart London.
Across the bandana's $20. That's not too bad. That's a loss leader.
And a $40 tote bag.
I'm not outraged by that one.
No,
but
I'm out.
I think $50 t-shirt is too much. But, whatever. I'm not making the prices. I don't care.
You'd think that his site would be better. This site is fucking janky.
It's weird. It's gotta be.
Who made this?
They've gotta know.
Who made this? Who made this site? Come on.
I don't know.
Where are you?
Zoomer.
Get him on the pod.
Get him on the podcast. I hope it's like a Haynes Beefy tea
percentage,
as well.
A percentage, an unknown percentage of the proceeds will be donated to Mission 44, which is his charitable foundation focused on building a more inclusive education system. Okay, well, at least into STEM careers. So that's cool. So at least that is cool. It would be nice. It would be better if he would say what percentage, because we know for damn sure he doesn't need any more money into his pocket.
No.
He could say 100% of this rather than a percentage.
He could.
I mean, 100 is a percentage.
It really is. It could be 100. There's no. We can speculate all day long. It could be any number.
It's a lot of favor. Ambiguous. Yeah. Oh my god.
You can do it. Come on. You can do it. Keep going.
No. I'm just going to drink a beer. I'm going to continue on with my life. In this podcast.
Words are tough.
Words
are tough.
Word hard.
All right.
Neanderthal Jesse.
Cro-Mag Jesse over here.
I've been there.
So did you bring a car, Jesse? Is this the one that Steve posted?
No, I posted one too.
Where?
But it's not in the chat.
I posted one in the chat.
I don't know where he posted it, but it's not in the chat.
It says it's in the chat.
Steve's is in the chat. So maybe while you're trying to figure your shit out, we'll look at Steve's.
Well,
there are two messages in the chat. One says hello. Yep. The other is a link from Steve.
Well, so I don't know why that mine is not posting.
Because you didn't do it.
Yeah.
No, I did it.
You didn't actually send it.
I'm more than happy to share my screen with you.
Yeah.
Do it.
Pixar didn't happen. Okay, so I'm looking at Steve's. I'm going to open it with Steve's here. Because
this thing is rad.
It's a Jeep, but
it's a Jeepster.
It's a
Kaiser Jeep.
I gotta say, I haven't looked at it yet. I'm just gonna say this first. I don't really like Jeepsters very much.
They're pretty ugly
in general.
Yeah.
This one's kind of cool. I'm gonna give it to you.
408 Ford V8.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
So 8 miles to the gallon.
Jeepster,
He's lucky.
100%.
Thank you, Colin, for putting that one right out there.
Injected.
It's at least fuel injected. Okay, so he might squeeze 10.
Maybe. Rear axle, Sterling 10.5. Okay.
So a little smaller,
Whoa.
but it's a small rig, I guess. But.
It's got some serious shock up front. That's cool. Wow. 3-way bypass, sway away with a sway away coil over. Very nice. Cool.
Yeah, 37s. I mean, it's got some travel on it, that's for sure.
Yeah, it does.
Because the back is pretty serious as well. 113-inch wheelbase.
So he's 10 more inches than I am.
Yeah,
On the
it's
tail.
stretched
Yeah.
too.
Well,
from
it's
the original.
stretched.
That's
So-
significant. Well, I don't know. For our listeners, I feel like we have to try to walk them through this. This is a fiery Ford-powered 1967 Jeepster Commando build.
Fiery.
Featured on MotorTrend.com. I'm assuming it was probably a four-wheeler article at some point in
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
2022. It's primer with like a white top, and it's pretty cool. I guess it could be gray, but I'm going to call it primer because it looks primer.
No, it's primer. You're right.
Yeah. Thank you. And yeah, it's pretty sweet. It feels like we should drop these in like the YouTube links. Do you think the producer could handle that, Colin? I hate to give you more work, but it just seems like it'd be a good, so you can watch along, This is an ever evolving process. So
yeah. Wow.
Maybe. Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got a hell of a motor in it because
351 stroke to 408 with a Holly Sniper.
I bet that's rowdy would be the right word.
Yes.
398 horse, 501 foot-pounds of torque.
Oh,
Cheesy Pete.
Does it have, I didn't get to this part, does it have like a C6 trans? Is that kind of the thing that you would put in that? It's not manual, right? That'd be weird. Fine.
C6. It's a C6 transmission.
There we go. Some sort of fancy Dana 300 case probably, or
205 twin stick.
205. Okay.
Yeah. So he probably has
sense.
front dig on it, which is no, you can't do front dig unless you have two of them.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, low range 196 to 1, so it's just a re-geared 205, just to have a low. And a first gear, his C6 has a 2.48 to 1 first gear.
Interesting.
So a little granny gear in there.
Nice. From an AOD.
Oh, it's a cute little truck. I'm not going to argue. I have nothing negative to say.
I don't think there's anything negative to say other than Jeepsters are weird, but this one looks pretty good.
Yeah, Jeepsters are weird.
I think that when I think Jeepster, I think of no top for sure every time. What is like it must be after this, right? Like the 70s Jeepster?
No, that top can come off.
Yeah, but they have a different, the one that I'm thinking of is different.
The SC1?
Okay.
Is that what you're thinking?
Oh, yeah, the real early one with the split windshield. Is that
yes. No. The
goofy as
SC1's
shit.
just like it's the pickup.
Okay.
It's the tiny cab pickup.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. The original Willys Overland Jeepster is the thing that I associate with being way too weird for me. It looks like it belongs in like a Hamptons home, and it's actually like half scale or something. Like it, I don't get it at all. They're real preppy and weird, and they're Jeeps. So the front is definitely a Jeep, but then the rest of it kind of looks like it's trying to be fancy, which is not so Jeepy to me. I don't know. Other than Wagoneer, of course. That's very fancy.
Those were meant to be fancy.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very odd. Okay. Well, cool. I think that's a good share. I think I'm in. I like it.
I'm okay with it. I can't say anything negative about
Divisive.
it.
Yeah, I mean, Jeepsters are weird. They're like the VW thing of the Jeep world. I will say his wiring on the battery.
Yes.
Oh, is it bad?
God! It's quite the Medusa he's got going on there. It's that'll be fun to iron out later, I'm sure. But
I'm sure he's been roasted on that one a few times already. The wiring above the brake booster is pretty nice too. And I think I might see a couple unclipped zip ties, which is one of my least favorite things that people do.
Yeah.
I always love the use of ball valves in an engine bay as well.
Yeah, especially two. Why would you do? I mean, I guess I don't understand why you would do two on your heater core. I mean, I guess you technically blocked both of them, but why?
Yeah, you gotta have the in and out blocked.
Okay. Well, what was this guy's name? I saw it on here. Mike.
Yeah.
Mike, if you're ever listening to this and you want to explain why you have dual ball valves on your heater core, I would be very curious to know.
Yeah, that is interesting.
You might have a reason that I don't understand. Something about,
well, with it being a 60s truck, the heat probably always runs.
Mm-hmm.
So that is probably his way of turning the heat off in the summer.
I've seen plenty of people do that with one because you just stop the circulation, whatever. But maybe he's just saying, like, even if I stop the circulation, there's some up there and it's not worth it. So whatever.
Yeah.
It looks like it's from Utah, so he probably wants it for snow wheeling.
Yeah, maybe.
Or just when it's not hot out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it says Utah and Washington, but it's got Utah plates.
I think it's Washington, Utah. It's the name.
It says stomping grounds, Washington, Utah.
Washington, Utah.
Is Washington a town in Utah?
Yeah,
Washington City, Utah.
Somebody Google that because I just shot from the hip on that.
It literally is.
Ridiculous.
There's a Washington City, Utah.
That's ridiculous.
Come up with something on your own. Jesus.
Today's episode of things that grind Collins'
I'm
gears.
here in Oregon, North Dakota.
Might be a place.
It's basically St. George area.
Okay.
Yeah, it said it was tuned in St. George, which I know where St. George is, but...
So now there's a second link for a Jeepster. Is that your truck, Jesse?
No, that's the SC1 Jeepster that I think is a really cool variant because they had like one of 4 different Jeepsters, and that's
Jesse
a fairly rare one.
A link.
Let's see.
So,
yeah, that's not my favorite kind of thing, but I'm fine if people like them. That's all on them. Actually, it's the same basic design. That's kind of interesting. It's just got that like single cab top thing.
I like the weirdness.
Commando.
Yeah.
I'm here for
the
it.
Truck top instead of the SUV top.
Yeah, people love weird stuff. That's fine.
Yeah, because they had like a commando hard top and a regular open top, and then a truck.
So is the C104 as you scroll down? Is that the one you're talking about? The late one that you think?
Oh, those
looks
are
weird?
really bad too.
Yeah,
no,
that
I think
looks
the
awful.
earliest one, the first gen ones or whatever, like the 40s to 50s ones, those are the ones that I like associate with Jeepster. The split windshield, they like remind me of a boat in the worst way. I like boats. Like a Chris Craft's a cool thing, but like that is not.
I like boats.
The C104 is like an off-brand Scout, which
yeah, it kind of is.
And I understand that probably at the time the Jeepster was probably more common than the Scout. Maybe I have no idea.
I
Probably
don't know.
similar.
I don't feel like I see many of those at all.
When I see them, I just think, "Wow, that's a weird-looking Scout." Oh, it's a Jeep. I don't get it.
I'm sure all the Scout guys appreciate that.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Because international people are not diehard fans or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what color. They bleed whatever international
Black
orange,
and red.
black and red.
Is that what? That's the International Harvester logo is like black and red, I think.
Yeah, probably.
So
Look that up, Jamie.
pretty sure I'm right on that.
Man, I listened to with Morgan on the way home from our trip. I listened to the first Rogan podcast I've listened to, and probably actually, you know what? In a year, because I listened to one by myself about a year prior to that, and there were some things that I remembered about those podcasts that I liked that were funny, and then some things that I was like, "Oh, that's why I don't listen so much anymore." Whatever. It was. It's a well-produced podcast with funny people. There was some good stuff.
All right, so Jesse, are you ever going to send your link, or we're just guessing?
I've sent it 3 times. Apparently, it's not getting to you. So look up it's a Vanderhall.
Now we got to
Vanderhall Brawler GTS.
Oh, this is the thing that you sent us at the end of the last podcast or whatever, or the last one you were on?
No, it was before that, but yes. You're close.
Okay.
It's this interesting new side-by-side remake that almost looks like a Jeep.
It looks like a Jeepster Commando.
Except for way better.
Yeah.
It's like a modern one that is also a side-by-side.
I don't hate it.
Mashed up with a FJ and I don't know what else. A Defender and Jeep Wrangler, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a Commander and an FJ.
Yeah. I love it. And that video, so they have, if you go to their Instagram, which is just Vanderhall, they had like the release video, and it was sweet.
Dude, when they were jumping that thing off the loading dock,
yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. Like, you might have sold me if I was, $100,000-aire.
I mean, it's $50,000.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a really expensive side-by-side.
Yeah. But it's really cool.
It's as expensive as like racers.
Only.
It's like
it competes with any of those. Those are like $40,000 to $38,000.
Yeah, I guess a top end Razor is less than this, but still, this is more vehicle, arguably. Like, it is an enclosed cab, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
and it has.
It doesn't look like a dumb UTV, and all Razors look like a dumb UTV.
Oh God, do they ever?
Like, this has like AC, an enclosed cab. It's a truck, but it's purpose built for wheeling,
getting rowdy,
which is cool. I mean, if you've got the money, I don't see why not getting on board with it.
I'm trying to look at some specs, and it turns out on their website I got nothing now.
What's the range? Tires. 140 miles. That's actually pretty good, to be honest.
So it's
18 inches of ground clearance, 112 and a half inch wheelbase,
almost the same as that Jeepster.
Full rig length is 147 and a half. Width is 76,
and that's on 35s, right?
Yeah, 35s.
Pretty good size.
And you could
it's
probably run bigger.
Yeah, I mean, they make those 37-inch side-by-side tires, but so it's electric. That's another thing we should put out there, right?
Yes. With the 140-mile range.
That's pretty good. Does it say the battery size? I'm curious.
It says 40 kilowatt hour.
It says 200 mile, 140 mile standard, 200 plus with the optional.
There was an optional battery pack, which is basically probably just another battery you hot swap in. I bet.
Who knows? Nobody seems to have really gotten the hot swap thing. I think it's just probably a bigger battery. Is my guess.
Better. It's probably wired in.
It's additional cell. Like it's additional cells. It looks like It's showing the 140 miles. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cells.
For 60 more miles, an additional $5,000.
3 more cells. So it's a +3 battery module.
Is it more power? Or is it the
same amount of power. It's just distant, yeah. 480 foot-pounds of torque, 404 horsepower. Twin motor.
I mean, honestly, it is definitely the most amazing looking side by side.
Yep.
It's really like one step away from a car, and it's almost like they designed a car and were like, whoops, we can't put this on the street. Let's make it a side by side.
That's exactly what they did.
It also has rear steer. It's got rear steer.
That's rad.
So it can crab and e-steer.
Oh man.
And it can do the tank move.
That's great.
So interesting.
I wonder how much it weighs. Does it tell you?
It's got a winch.
Their website sucks. I'm sorry. Speaking of bad websites.
It's better than fucking
I don't know.
Hamilton's was.
Barely better.
It's got a stereo.
I'm just clicking around on things to try to find the weight.
5-inch two-way speakers, Sean, with an optional 8-inch subwoofer.
What?
Yeah.
It weighs
4-channel
2,700 to 3,000 pounds, which for an EV thing,
that's not bad.
It's not too bad. I'm surprised, actually. I thought it'd be 4.
It's a side-by-side I can get on. And if I had money,
maybe you get in it.
No, I'd get in any side by side. Give me behind the wheel. I don't care. Whatever. But like, that was one. If I had the money, I would
100%
consider buying.
Seats 4. Back seats looks a little tight.
I'm curious what the performance actually is. Like how I know nothing about it. I know it can jump off of a loading dock.
I seen it.
400 horsepower and something that light or that weight.
Yeah, it should be great with instant torque, right?
Yeah, it's going to be wild.
Also, they have great colors. That's another bonus. You don't just have to have like Polaris blue. You can get in a nice green. Luxurious white. It's not the color names, but they should be named something like that. Or like that.
What are the names?
Is it just named white?
White. It's I can't tell because the only thing it is a I don't know.
Ida Rose red,
royal blue, ivory white,
obsidian black,
jean gray.
Jean gray.
When I think of gray, I think of jeans.
It's
spelled G-E-N.
But that's an X-Men reference.
I'm not familiar. I'm sorry.
Jean Grey.
Surprise guest.
And emerald green.
Oh, do we have a person on here?
Yeah, there's a surprise guest.
Oh, did he sign the waiver?
Yeah, get out of here.
We're going to need to get a statement.
Wait, we have a waiver?
Yeah, don't you remember signing it?
Yeah. He's unsafe.
I think that's a great share because we talk about side-by-sides and how much we love them so much, so it's perfect.
Well, especially Jesse.
Yeah.
Especially Jesse.
Oh, I love those side-by-sides. They're great.
You know, it's funny. You brought that up after the show ended at one point, and we talked about it for a solid 15 minutes. And now I have nothing left to say because all I can think about is, we already talked about it. It's great.
Well,
it's perfect.
It's a good little cross between a side-by-side and an actual vehicle. And if you have the money to spend on buying an outfitted vehicle to do wheeling, great, do it. My big thing about the side-by-sides is the fact that it's like, why would I spend $40,000
exactly
on a side-by-side when I could spend $10,000 and outfit something like my 85 Toyota?
I think we've had this argument, and I feel like, you know what I've noticed about our group of friends? We're all contrarians. That is what we are. That's like the best thing. Every one of us has a contrary statement to anything that is said, and I am 100% part of this.
Yeah.
I think your crawler is great, and I think given the opportunity to have a used Polaris 4-seat turbo or your truck, I would have your truck every single day of the week. No problems. 100%. No chance I would pick anything different. But I do see like they're two different things in a lot of ways, right? Like your truck is not, you did take it to the dunes and bomb around, but it's not meant for that, right?
No.
The Razor is. It's not really meant for going fast ever.
It can't go fast. It has a 22 RE. It's the weakest power motor.
Yeah, and the Razor's not really great at going slow either, and your truck is exceptional at going slow.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like two different. It's like comparing a Bentley GT to a BAC mono, like just like the most like two outside, like they're both expensive cars. One of them is for luxury, the other one is for going fast. They're not. They do get, I'm sure, cross-shopped by people that don't know what they're doing, but that's probably a stretch because the BAC mono is really weird and small. But anyways, the point stands. I think they're just weird. It's just two ends of the spectrum. Yeah. But
they all have a place.
If you want to get into off-road, your truck is a better decision, and it is a lot of fun. But I can see the appeal of your 45-year-old rockhound person to buy the Polaris instead of an 85 Toyota truck.
If you don't have the means or knowledge to work on a vehicle, go ahead.
That's a big thing.
Go buy your Polaris, your Razor, whatever it is, your side-by-side. But
most bike shops will tell you, too, now that most of their money comes from fixing UTVs because people break them
I'm sure.
constantly.
All the time. Yeah.
Constantly.
And,
always broken lower control arms, bending the shit out of all of that componentry. Just absolutely can. Early ones certainly could not take the abuse that it used to, and the newer ones are better, but
they're definitely better. Yeah. Well, also, no off-road shop is making its money on fixing straight axle swap Toyotas because all of those people are working on them themselves, just like you.
they're this guy.
They all know how to put 3 batteries together and weld something up. Like, there's not. To them, it's not a thing, right? So like that's that difference. Like, I don't think anybody's like, I want to get into off-road, and I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they're buying fully built up crawler vehicles or off-roaders like that. Maybe
if you have the money, cool.
They're probably buying,
good for you. Like
they're probably buy a
whatever.
Jeep. Really, I think if you want to go off-road, buy a Jeep.
I feel like that's
Go
what
buy
Jeep people
an XJ
are.
on 33s. We saw it get through the Rubicon. It's okay.
Buy a new.
When you've got the money, they're buying new Wranglers.
Be Hemi-Ron. Just go for it.
Yeah,
Hemi-Ron's was a little more serious than
he definitely not his first rodeo.
Hemi-Ron started with $100,000 Jeep.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody noticed that. That was the Starwood Motors one. I don't know if anybody's seen those, but they're like an upfitter that makes like some awful Jeeps. And I saw his interior. It said Starwood Motors on the seats, and I think it's Starwood Motors, right? And I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this started as one of those. And then I started thinking, did they build the whole thing, or that might be?
So do we want to back up and like give some context to who Hemi-Ron is?
No. If you don't know who Hemi-Ron is,
then get the fuck out.
Yeah,
pretty much.
He's an absolute ledge.
Oh, it turns out Starwood's into used TVs now. So
that says permanently closed, Sean.
Oh well, their business model I don't think was very good.
I mean, it was all you only got a few Hemi-Rons.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, this is like definitely.
See if Hemi-Ron's
not it, but it seems like it could be this 2014 Wrangler Nighthawk edition. I mean, that could have been the same Jeep.
Just that name alone just kills me.
It's got a 6.4 Hemi in it.
I can't.
It's got one of those stupid tops
Nighthawk
with
edition.
The angle on it.
It has the angriest of eyes.
Burly coilovers. Yeah, the angry, and then American Forces, which he didn't have, but
of course.
No, he had
instead of wheel wells, it's got eagle talons.
Pretty sure he had KMCs, right?
Yeah, probably. Why don't you give the backstory, Jesse?
Oh, it's on me?
It's on you?
Yeah.
You brought it up?
You want to give context, give it.
Oh, all right, fine. So when we were doing Soup Bowl on the Rubicon, I had, 5 minutes on that obstacle before we had the Jeeps roll up behind us, and someone said, oh, hey, these guys want to do it. Can we give them a second to try it? And I was like,
never mind this Toyota guy that's trying. He's not really trying. Let's get the Jeeps in.
Yeah, apparently the guy in the Toyota is not really trying hard. So I was like, yeah, no problem. Like, we're all here to have fun. So I back off, and I go pull off to the side, and we let this Jeep brigade go after it. And the first person, which, oh man, I really wish that girl would have got it. She was in, it wasn't a YJ. Was it a TJ?
Yes, it was. It was a YJ.
It was a YJ.
Headlights, right?
So it was a YJ with front dig. And
God, did it have front dig?
She had the worst spotter in the goddamn world. Like, I could not. Like,
who was also her father.
Yeah.
We can't say if he's the worst father in the world, but he was definitely the worst spotter in the world.
He seemed caring, but misplaced in his energy.
Definitely a bad spotter, though.
But he was the worst spotter and giving her the worst advice. As soon as she started pulling up that hill, he would say, oh, no, stop. And then finally, after 20 minutes, 40 minutes? Somewhere in between there.
Yeah, 40 in the 40-minute range.
40-minute range. She had to pull off and let the next gentleman, who we now consider as Hemi Ron, get after it.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, to add some context to this, I think that guy must have been like a family friend. He seemed to be friends with the dad who was the bad spotter.
Yes.
And he came to Colin and I think Jesse might have been standing there too. We were talking about how bad the spotting was, and he came and hung out with us for a while and pointed out how bad the spotting was. He was like, man, I don't know what he's doing. Why doesn't he have her go driver? Why doesn't he have her go driver? What is he doing stopping her? All these things. And so finally, I think, did we say, you think you can do better? Or somebody was like, do you think you could do better? And he was like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, cool. And so go ahead.
So yes. So now gentleman in black Jeep gets after it. And
now the Jeep,
full coilovers, stickies.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And
troubadours and a Hemi. So JK with all these things.
Yes.
It was very built very well and damaged in a way that you knew that he was using it.
Yep.
100%. So he gets after it, and old bad spotter is trying to give him some sort of like direction. And there was this point where when he started climbing and getting in that, there's the notorious crack there at Soup Bowl where you can get into it with your driver's side tire and start climbing. And he told him to stop, and he fell back down. There was the dude in the blue, like, it was all
blue shirt, cowboy hat.
Yep, blue shirt and cowboy hat.
And jeans.
Who said
Canadian tuxedo.
I think my favorite part of it was that unanimously every person across watching him was like, just go!
Give it the Hemi.
Just go.
Give it the Hemi.
And the guy there in the blue, the cowboy hat, said, give her the Hemi, Ron.
Which is like, obviously, their other buddy, which was great.
And Hemi Ron freaking smashed on that gas, and he got up Soup Bowl, and it was really fun because there was an accomplishment for all of us a little bit, because there was a huge group of us that didn't make it.
Yeah.
And so watching Hemi Ron on stickies, tons, and, Hemi and Ron, and he has a buddy who's a cowboy hat, we didn't have a buddy in a cowboy hat, so we didn't make it.
That was the missing link. That was the missing link.
That was surprising that none of the Hermiston crew had a cowboy hat, actually.
Yeah.
Upset of the week.
It's a different kind. It's a different kind of redneck.
Yeah.
It's not a cowboy hat.
Huh.
I'm sure there might be a few up there, but it's not the same.
Yeah, it was a bummer
good
to see all of everybody who tried to go after it not make it. And then Hemi Ron made it, which was...
I mean, I expected him to make it. As soon as he rolled up, I was like, he's making it. Yep. And I thought he'd walk it, but he didn't, which was probably due to the spotter,
I thought
which he shouldn't have listened to.
was gonna make it, and I think she would have if not for
the spotter.
Piss poor spotting. Yeah.
Well, I think after watching the videos a bunch of times, I've said this a bunch now, and I don't want to give like false confidence that like it's not an easy obstacle. Anybody that's going there, we went to this obstacle, and I had seen enough videos of rigs making it up that were similar to mine that I thought, I will do it. I might not make it up, but I will try. As soon as we turned around the corner and saw it, I was like, oh my God, I don't think I can do it. It's so
it is
big.
Much bigger in person than it looks in video.
I have a picture of Justin standing in the middle of it, and it is taller than him, very obviously. And there's like nothing I've ever seen really gives that perspective at all.
Right.
So, this is all to say that I watched a bunch of videos after the fact, and I have realized that guy's shitty spotting helped us see the wrong line for the time, because every person I've seen in a month span, anything recent that's gone through it did not go that way at all.
Yeah,
there's a couple people that did, but they were they could do it. They Hemi Ron.
They were Hemi Ron.
Yeah, but for anybody on like 37s or like a full size truck, they were significantly further driver's side, like 3 feet at least. And everybody that went that far over had a pretty drama-free drive up, it looked like. I watched, there's a Land Cruiser guy, his Instagram is like Jose FZJ80 or something like that. And he's got a 3-linked 80 series with a like coilovers in the back. It's really built up on 38s. And he took the hardline up it, the one that we saw, and I'm going to say walked it with quotes. He went up it drama free. Like it just kind of went. But it's got so much flex and so much like it's got wide tires. It's sticky. It's planted. Like, of course it's going to do okay. But that full size went up, the full size Ram. There was like a Gen 1 Ram that went up it pretty far left, made it up. And then there was another full size truck. I don't think it was in that group, but another group I saw a picture of. It's like a Chevy or something that made it up same way. 37s, a full size truck, and just drove up it. And so like, I think it was just, you know, the excitement of the day and like just watching everybody doing all the things. Like watching Jesse try it 10 times was awesome, you know, because you gave it everything a bunch of times and it was really cool. But I think getting back to the beginning, I think we just took the wrong line. I think that our vehicles, especially, maybe Jesse's a little different, but like mine, there's no way I could have. Mike and I could have never made that line. Mm-hmm. Maybe I could have gotten further, but I don't think I would have made it. Now, had I pulled left a lot more and used more of the obstacle, maybe. Live and learn. But I also didn't roll it, so that's nice.
Yeah. That's always a plus.
I did like the worst bit of damage that I did on my vehicle during that bypass, so that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Wait.
This is stupid spot.
What did you do? That was the bypass that you smashed on?
Yeah.
The easiest bypass.
Yeah. I would not call that the easiest bypass. Of course, now, another Rubicon fact that people told us that I didn't quite understand until we were there are not very many bypasses. Most of the time, they're just different lines to take.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This bypass is a V-notch that is, I don't know, 8 feet deep. And I don't know. I was way too far right, maybe, and I slipped. Or I still was pretty far left.
It wasn't even that, like, because you kind of needed to be all the way into the crack as far as you could be, basically. But what it was you started turning away from the wall when there was that step to get out.
Yep.
And because you were turning away from the wall, it then leaned the whole top end of the car into the wall.
Yeah.
Instead of holding the same line with the wall. So you'd like turned, so the rear end kicked towards the wall, plus it leaned you, and that's why it tapped it.
Now, I'm being dramatic. It's not that bad. Like it's a scrape that's barely anything.
But your brother did exactly the same thing and hit the almost right. He didn't hit it because he went and looked
like he did,
but he was very close to hitting his flatbed on it. So
the funny part is I didn't even hear it. I knew it hit, but I was like, oh, I didn't hear it. Maybe it's fine. And then somebody was like, oh, you hit. And I was like, was that taillight?
That was me because I was right behind you.
And you went, I don't know. But it did hit my taillight. It hit in the middle of my taillight and then like 6 inches up from my taillight. Yeah. But it didn't break anything. It just nice little scrape.
Yeah. Those are just the spots where I just looked at Jesse and just trusted a full part. And he's just like, nope, yep. And it's just like, I'm not even going to look back.
Trust your spotter. That was a big piece of the Rubicon was just trust the spotter.
100%.
Do what they're telling you, and that's...
Well, you know, we say trust your spotter, but if you were...
We had good spotters on hand.
We did have great spotters.
There is also that.
But we also had Jesse, who kept walking away every time I would drive up to an obstacle, and Mike, who would get me through something and say something like... I didn't know if that was going to work. I took you on a weird line. It's like, dude,
Justin was very good about being like,
dude, Justin.
What do you want? This is sketch and this is sketch. So it's like, all right, which sketchy do we want? All right. Sketchy A, sketchy B.
Justin wins spotter of the trip. That guy.
We're going to take that away from Mike?
Like,
he is amazing.
Like that guy, like he's really good vision.
He caught on very quick. And learned how, like, what to look for and how to do it pretty damn quick.
Yeah, he is. He understands vehicle dynamics.
Yes,
hugely.
Exactly. It's pretty obvious.
Hugely.
Also, Justin has an ability to communicate with calmness. Like, he's not.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a very abrasive spotter because I'm just yelling, driver, passenger, like. It could be because that's also my industry in which I work. So it's very difficult to get out of that because I'm yelling instructions. So it's not this.
Do you yell at the people that work for you like that?
Well, I mean, like, you have to make yourself heard, because if you don't make yourself heard, then accidents happen.
Okay.
And
whereas Mike is, you're not sure if you can trust that he's taking you on the best line.
Yeah.
He's just taking you on the line that he thinks will look cool.
That's right. He's 100%.
And it works out
and
good. But...
Again, to like Justin, Mike understands vehicle dynamics. He understands my vehicle. He's been around it. He understands my skills. So like that was part of it. But yeah. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack you.
No.
You're an abrasive spotter.
You didn't sidetrack at all, because I think that's a very pertinent point to make within our spotting dynamics. You have to understand not just the car or the vehicle, but you have to understand the individual behind the wheel. And so
what Mike does really well is he'll say, like, it's going to feel weird, or like, turn into this, you're going to feel like you're like, he's because there was times where it's like, no, I have to turn away, like, because I'm so, and it's like, no, stay, like, it's going to feel real, you know. So he's kind of in the driver's seat a little bit really well at being like, this is going to get real tippy. It's going to get weird, but it's okay. You know, you're like, okay, all right.
Where I'm just yelling at you, like, turn driver, turn driver.
No other info.
Yeah.
Like,
just do what I say.
And I get that. And I think that's part of the reason why, Steve, that my dynamic might have not fit your situation at the point.
No, I just had a panic attack.
Well, which did not, me yelling at you did not help.
That wasn't changing anything. It wasn't hurting the situation either.
Well,
this is the context I need, because the radio message from Luke was basically just like, "Oh, hey,
what up? Hey there, Steve. What up, Steve? That's Sean's head.
That's Sean's
Hi,
head.
Robert.
Hey, what
my
up,
head.
Sean? I
Hi."
want to get the sound on the podcast. Yeah.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks, Robert.
Robert, everybody. I was going to give his last name. I decided against that.
Yeah, he's a pilot. We probably shouldn't
Yeah, Robert's a pilot.
give out his last name.
Do not give out his last name. He's a pilot.
Yeah. The FFA might be listening.
Yeah, he's not a pilot. What are you talking about?
He's a postal
He's
worker.
a ramper.
The point I was trying to exemplify is that
He's in the background. I can't take you serious. I'm sorry.
they're still staring at you.
Oh, yeah, I'm checking out. I've
Never seen one. This is how the sausage gets made, Robert.
Oh, man.
The point I was trying to exemplify is that spotting is massively key to making it through the trail. Whether you're Dave Vance on 33s.
Advanced refrigeration.
Dave Vance on 33s, or you're me. Like, and I'm not trying to like brag and boast, but it was like I didn't have any spotting. Like I asked Luke.
You brought a knife or a gun to a knife fight.
There was very few times where Jesse was like, "Hey, can I?" And that one tree drop where it was like, all right, hey.
I asked Luke one time. I was like, "Hey, can you just like look at me really quick and give me a spot?" And he's like, "You're fine. What do you want? Like, you're gonna be fine."
I was looking through pictures to try to see how Colin took that same obstacle, and I couldn't quite figure it out.
Which one?
Which one?
That real off-camber tree situation where we went all the way right.
Oh no, Colin didn't take that. Colin probably went down the step.
Yeah, I know.
Are you talking about the one where you fell 4 feet?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
I remember coming around that corner and looking at where you were, and I was like, why did Justin take him this route? This is just ridiculous.
That part was so fucking wild.
I've heard the story like 3 times now. I still don't know where this is, and something to note for anybody that's listening to this that wasn't with us, we split up on our second trail day into 2 groups and had 2 different experiences for like 6 hours.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was complete. It's like we drove 2 different trails. People kept saying, like, I can't believe that this obstacle existed. And we'd kind of look around like, what are they talking about? But then we'd say something like, dude, did you take the left line on this one rock? And they'd all be like, what are you, where?
What left line?
Yeah. And we're like, oh my God, we drove 2 different trails. Anyways, go ahead.
So
I want to know.
So this is right after you hit the hairpin on Old Sluice and you drop down and there's that really big, like,
Colin, check your phone.
Crazy drop after the hairpin.
Yeah, where there's like the chain link fence on the road and it's pretty big drop on the right. Like the road is repaired with the chain link.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
So after that,
this is what happens.
A left-hand turn, and it's either left.
That's a live photo, so you can play it.
You take it's like a step down that's probably about, I don't know, 2.5, 3 feet. And then the right, there's a kind of V notch. Okay. But the left side of the notch is just straight the fuck down. Like there is, yeah. Robert,
I'm going to listen and also look at my pictures.
So Steve is on this line and it gets to the point where Steve's front driver is 4 feet off the ground. And his rear passenger doesn't exist. It's not on the ground, but I mean it's flexed all the way out. And it gets to the point where Dave is standing on the back corner of the driver's side or passenger side. Robert and I are pushing on driver's side of Steve's tent, and Steve goes inch forward just a little bit and then drops 4 feet. And I will never forget Steve's face. He looks at me, he's like, just.
I think, Colin, this is the one where Oliver went really far to one side and then everybody else went straight, but you had to like turn really hard to drop off the straight drop.
That's exactly what it is. You had to
do a big turn.
The dip.
Yeah, and Oliver like straddled the notch and got down it, and then everybody else was like, we'll just go in the center, and I just drove off. Like it was steep, but I just drove straight basically. Yep. And then I think there was something to the right that we didn't even like. It was not a thing. We just went, I don't know what that is, and just go straight off.
Yeah, because the left line, we didn't feel like I had the clearance because it was just going to drop and belly, so I needed to basically do it all in one drop versus try to belly it out.
That's what it was. But it's funny because if you have that different experience, like I just remember Oliver going down it and Mike or Oliver saying, "Don't go there. It's sketchy." And I was like, okay.
Good to see
so
you,
I
dudes.
didn't.
Yeah, that's the line I went. It was sketchy.
Yeah, it was super sketchy.
So because that's not property line.
No, it wasn't property line.
That must have been between. Was that before the random water hole at the bottom of Big Sluice?
Yeah, I think it's like the last thing before that big water.
Yeah, it was the last thing.
So it's kind of like narrow for a sec, and then you make that left-hand turn, and it's wide. Yes, okay.
And you have to do that
so that's where we found
to make the
that's where I found the piece of steel that we used to cut up and fix Oliver's control arm.
Hey-o.
Yeah. It was just sitting there in the trail. Picked it up. Came in handy.
Oh,
it was fun.
That definitely came in handy. Like, I couldn't believe you guys had that piece of metal. I was like, shit, this is exactly what I need.
Well,
Mike, cut this right here.
And then I found it again and said, should we take this?
Yeah, well, because I had found it because it was sitting right in the middle of the trail, and so I just like moved it up on top of the like dirt mound so that it was obvious where it was.
Yeah,
and then like you or Oliver, I can't remember which, like picked it up and looked at me like with it in their hand. And I said, yeah, I found that in the middle of the trail. And then somebody said, should we bring this with us? And
it was me because I had just heard the radio message from my brother that said, hey, I need shackle material. Jesse, do you have anything? And I was like, this looks like shackle material.
Yeah.
Maybe for half of one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ish?
It worked.
Ish.
Not for a shackle, but
shackle adjacent.
Worked for how we used it.
Yeah.
Man, for that permanent fix.
Worked for a radius arm.
So I looked up today. I just saw randomly another trail welder, and I wish I could remember the name of this company. There's a company that makes a 24 volt.
Is it called 3 batteries and 2 jumper cables?
It's called like Legacy, but it's not Legacy. It's Shoot.
I like Jesse and I's idea of just putting it on 2 giant disconnects, and you just have one that you can basically flop it from series to parallel.
Yeah, so this is a pretty good deal. Like, so it's Legacy or Legacy. I don't know how the guys. I don't know. I'm assuming it's the guy's last name.
What?
I might be churching it up a little bit.
Churching it up.
I'm gonna put that in the chat. And did you guys see that? Did that come
no.
up? Oh my god! Did I just run into the thing that Jesse did?
No, yours came up.
Okay.
Right there.
Oh, there it is.
It's just Jesse. Jesse's the problem.
This one's kind of interesting because it's $400 and it's a MIG welder gun basically with a spool and a like series of jumper cables that allows you to use it on 2 batteries, which is kind of what we talked about out on the trail. Not saying this is better than what we did with Jesse, but it's pretty cool. And it's a little cheaper than the other options.
I mean, it's $400.
And it's in a case.
That's not bad.
And how do you say this word, sir?
I feel like I would just say because there's no accent over the
So
E.
it's Legacy.
There's
So
no
Legacy
umlaut.
is how. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Legacy.
I'm gonna. It's a weird way to say legacy.
Legace.
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 Yeah, actually.
Legace.
Colin just nailed it.
If I'm gonna call this guy on Monday. If
Excuse
it's
me,
Legace,
pronounce your
I'm
name,
gonna
sir.
call it out immediately.
Well, then you're gonna have to tell him you forgot the freaking accent on the E.
Yeah, I'm probably wrong. Anyways, it was a cool thing, and I like the package that it comes in. Although 3 batteries, jumper cables, and a stick are pretty great.
Yep.
2 batteries,
fine twice.
or 3 batteries, 2 jumper cables, and 60-10 rods, 1/8 inch.
Rod.
Better jumper cables.
Yeah, you need the.
Those ones
The
were
4 gauge
moving
or the 2
around on
gauge
their
at the
own a little
minimum.
too much.
I don't know. I mean, it worked, right? We got on the
the
trail. We
ones were
did what we needed to
sketchy.
do. So a jumper cable
Yeah.
works.
All right.
And those welds are not going anywhere.
No.
They are burned in. Do you know if the carrier on the Toyota made it?
Oh, yeah.
Like, was it still fun?
So I talked.
Oh, yeah.
I talked to Wes later because I kept asking him like, "Hey, I want to know how that did," and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's fine." he's just
fine.
going to keep running it as a spool. He doesn't care.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah,
we'll see how it runs through the winter when those boys do their snow wheeling shit.
I'd like to get them over here to do some snowmobile, or we should go over there because there's some gnarly stuff near them. That'd be fun to do.
Nope, I already told him. What did I say? It was,
Nope, don't want to see you ever again.
no, it was.
You already
It
told
was,
him he doesn't want to see him ever
No, you guys
again.
need to come see us. And he's like, "Oh yeah, you guys got to come over snow wheeling." And I was like, "Nope, not going to do that. Don't care. Like, you can come see us."
Oh my god! You know the funny part is, it's probably just as close for you to go see them as it is to come here, Jesse.
It's actually a little farther.
Not much because
It's 4.5
we've had this
hours
conversation a
versus
few-
3.5.
Okay,
Yeah.
slightly more.
Well, it's better here anyway.
It's way better here because it's here because
Yeah.
we're here.
Exactly.
Well, it's also you guys have light
We're
snow.
the important group here.
That's right. What?
You guys have light snow. It's very cold, not dense packed snow. The snow in the Blue Mountains can get really dense.
Better for floating on?
No,
Maybe
not floating on. You
have a
can
lot of-
float.
you have a lot. You can.
You can float.
Okay.
They can't float.
Oh, my rig is considerably heavy or heavier than all of them.
That's true.
Yeah, it's not a lightweight. Not even a little bit.
Not even close. I mean, since we're on the topic of Rubicon,
Yeah.
I guess I'll just mention that my Colorado made it with 0 body damage, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Fuck
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
dude.
okay,
You scratched up some fender flares.
the rear bumper is
And that.
completely done, and there's a couple of marks on the factory front bumper as well. But outside of that,
Yeah.
there really isn't anything body wise, which is I found insane.
Yeah.
I thought for sure I was gonna get something body wise.
Yeah, let's do a rundown here. Colorado did awesome. Little to no body damage. Little bend on that rear bumper. A couple of fender flare scrapes, but those are aftermarket, so whatever, right?
Well, there's only one fender flare, like tiny
scratch.
touch. It was a touch.
So not bad.
Testament to those fender flares and those attachments, because those things took some.
Yeah, they
some
took
pull
37
force.
stuffed into them
They just
and
kept getting
popping them out.
They're
and
peeled
shit. Yeah, it
outside
was-
of the tire. So
and yet they're fine.
Yeah. And then Jesse's rig was fine.
Oh God, are you
It's
kidding?
just
That's a cheat code.
Nothing to report other than the corner like
Gun to a knife fight. I drove it for a
popped
little
out.
bit, and you just point it and go. In fact, my favorite part about Jesse's rig, and anybody that has a dual case Toyota crawler type rig will just know this and not think about it like I did. But since I have such high gearing compared to him,
Mhm.
I play a lot of left foot brake, and there's a lot of things that I do to get over and through obstacles to modulate my speed. And I figured out on Jesse's rig, if I wanted to slow down, I let the clutch out.
Yep.
If I wanted to speed up, I might put the clutch in.
Mhm.
Like, it was very odd. So anyways, but made it through. No problem.
Yeah,
Like nothing.
it was
no
cheat
issues
code.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Steve struggled a bit, but made it through pretty unscathed.
Mhm.
There was the stump incident. But beyond that, it was a lot of spotting and just getting it, doing it.
yeah. No, everything that I expected to get smashed or would have gotten smashed, didn't.
That's
for the
good.
most part.
Yeah.
So the
I mean-
bumper that Jesse built held up insanely well.
It did great.
3-hour bumper.
The rock rails took quite a few smashes sometimes. There was a few times where on the obstacle, I tried to open the door and was like, okay, my door's. Hopefully it's just because, yep. Oh, no, it's fine. All right. We're good.
All right, we're good. What else do we have? So Mike's Rubicon, JK Rubicon Wrangler, pretty much the Cinderella story of the weekend. Totally fine.
Mm-hmm. Not that we're surprised.
Yeah, no surprise. In fact, he has that
enough lift 37 sliders.
Yeah, it just does it.
It was fine.
He had this. He's got his steering stabilizer. It hangs really
Oh, that's
weirdly
right.
low.
He did pull that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he did have some issues with that, but it was not anything. He knew it was going to happen immediately, and it did, and everything was fine. Luke, another Rubicon, the Gladiator. He had more fun off-road than I've seen him have in years. And I think partly because it's a cheat code. He just got in and did it.
Yep.
And he had...
knocked a taillight out.
He knocked a taillight out.
Fuel filter.
He also did the
and
fuel
right
filter.
after. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that
Which was
it
almost
just
expected, but he
loosened-
didn't smash his housing. Yeah.
It just
kinda-
loosened the filter housing.
And pinched
A
that
lot of things loosening on this. On this trip.
It was a loosening trip.
I found one bolt for my slider also was loose.
Oh, interesting.
Because I pulled my mid skid out because it was smashed into the oil pan, and so it had been rubbing, vibrating, so I could feel it in the car. So I pulled that off today to flatten it back out.
Yep.
And found that one bolt in the driver's side slider was a good halfway out.
Yeah.
So I was like, huh, okay, well, so
All right.
went
So
ahead
you
and tightened that down.
You got that. And then Tyson had the Cherokee pretty much scot-free the entire time. Did get run into by Oliver.
Thank you, Oliver.
Yeah.
When parked.
but couldn't find a mark, so who knows how that happened. And And then when he got home, though, he just found out his track bar for the front was
like everything was
loose and coming apart. Which, after that much trip, like that's pretty small thing. It's a pretty small price to pay.
Yes.
So he did great. Dave with the mostly stock XJ, slight lift 33s. He popped off, I don't know, 3 out of 4 fender flares, 2 out of 3.
Fender flare removal the whole time.
It was, I think it was 3 out of 4. Yeah.
He pinched up the rockers pretty good.
Both sides.
Yep. But other than that, no mechanical issues.
No mechanical issues. Broke a taillight out.
And all the doors were fine, right? Everything closed and opened great.
Just a little bit.
Just the reverse. It was just the reverse square.
Oh, I saw that.
That got popped out by a rock, and that was it.
That thing was, I don't want to call it the MVP, but it was very impressive.
No, 100% the MVP.
All right, so then we got those. Collins Big Rig, 2500 Silverado. A lot of scraping on his lower shock mount in the back, like beat the hell out of it, but otherwise, totally fine. His body, not so much. His not
personal
the truck.
body.
Well, yeah, I mean, the guy who had to get 6 staples in his knee.
Yeah. But otherwise, great. That truck did. I mean, of course it was going to do well. It's 40s, and I know 39s, but 40s and
I mean,
it did power and stuff.
It also did go home on a trailer.
It did, yeah. So it is the road. It was the biggest road problem.
Unknown if it was due to trail, and then it just reared its ugly face because he took it on highway speed finally.
Yeah.
Or if it was all after the fact.
It's hard to tell.
It's really hard to say.
It did the trail great, like very drama free.
Yes.
And then we drove from Tahoe to Reno, and it popped its transmission open. I guess what's it called?
It's the adapter housing. So between the transmission and the transfer case, it's apparently cracked.
Yep. So who knows? Who knows what that was?
Yeah.
So, but otherwise, trail-wise, pretty unscathed. Some mechanical issues. Oliver's pre-runner Ranger, also kind of an MVP, did really well. Like I was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
I watched it in the Gatekeeper, and I was like, "Oh man, this is going to be a weak link."
Yeah, manual, kind of low, 35s,
V8. Not that that's a problem, but yeah.
And only a limited slip. Granted, he said he had shimmed it really tight, which was very obvious. Like you could tell it was shimmed very tight, but still.
Once he got in the groove, though, it did really well.
Yes.
Like a lot of down travel on
it.
it. Yeah. And it did great. But then broke a radius arm. Unfortunately, had a mistake when he broke the radius arm where he had a wheel that he didn't tighten back up, or he never took off, really.
Yeah, the wheel didn't come off.
Almost popped off, and then popped off again at the end. So that took that was a rough one. That was like probably one of the most, mechanical things that happened. Other than the Weston, Hermiston, Northeastern Oregon guys. We had Wes, who had a really cool Toyota crawler. It's got a 3.4 swap in it. Dana 44 front and rear, which is kind of weird, but cool.
Yeah.
And he blew up a rear end. He blew up a locker. Not even the rear end, just blew up a locker.
It was the Jeep housings with the Toyota internals and whatever. Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah, I got to weld
and
both
then those
of them
guys,
up.
Otherwise, I guess my brother's truck broke shackles and something else.
He broke his steering pins. The pins that come up out of the top of your knuckle.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he bent those.
Sheared them suckers right off.
Yep.
He just did high steer, too.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was, overall pretty good. Am I missing anybody? I'm definitely missing someone, right?
Oh, yeah, you're missing a lot of people. I mean, you're talking about the most memorable of the rigs.
We talked about your body damage because you did.
Oh, I didn't talk about me.
You actually took on.
I took a little bit of body
people
damage.
with rocker damage, you took on the most body damage.
Yeah, the rear corners on my truck are out there, and so I got those a little bit. Otherwise, mechanically, no problems. I did one bolt check and everything was tight, and so I was fine. It did get hot.
Your steering
like
sucks.
4 times.
Yeah, you did have the overheating
my steering
thing.
is awful. What do you think about my steering, Jesse?
It fucking sucks. Like I was like, I cannot wait to get back into my truck as I was driving your
I
way.
watched Jesse hit a rock that was probably, I don't know, 2.5 feet tall, dead into the center of my axle. I was like, you couldn't have done that in your truck, Jesse. What are you thinking? It was pretty funny. I had a good laugh. Robert and I laughed pretty good at that one. I just looked in the mirror and I said, what is he doing? What does he do? Oh,
no, can't do that,
Colin,
Jesse.
how many times did you have to use your front locker?
Only a handful of times. I was attempting to Steve my way through the whole way because I was like, well, Steve only has a rear locker, so
so
I
nice
I
of
really.
you.
Yeah, well, I was trying to level the playing field, even though my truck was better, obviously. But
Oh my god!
but no, I only ended up really using it a handful of times. There was like a couple of lines I took that like I turned it on just for the sake of turning it on,
to not get stuck and then need to turn it on.
Yeah.
Because there was only like once or twice where I'm like, man, that probably would have gotten me from bellying out a little bit a few times where I would have been able to have traction up front to that downhill section where I needed to tug forward. I probably would have been able to walk my way through it or at least have traction going into it. And then another time coming down off that hill towards the end where it was like,
I think the main one that I found it the most helpful was that first bump up on Cadillac Hill. So you get to that first switchback where it was wet, where you had to go around the outside of that rock that's like in the middle of the fucking road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's that first bump to get up over a couple of rocks before the climb really starts.
I had the advantage of seeing your line and going further to the left.
Well, and I watched Luke took 3-4 stabs at it just to get the Gladiator up it, and I was like, okay, well, I know what it's going to take now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and I turned it on there, and then like once I was a couple little obstacles ahead beyond that, I turned it back off. But I think that was really the only one where it was really important.
Mm-hmm.
Other times it was more of a like, I'm just going to turn it on. I guess for the what was it called? It's not called the staircase or whatever. That big granite face to get up to Beer Tree.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The steps.
There was that really, really steep climb that pushes you up against the tree.
Yeah.
I turned it on for that as well, just to make sure I had as much traction to avoid sliding into the tree, basically, as I could get. But
I think me and Colin took an easier line up that.
I had many don't be a hero moments where I got myself in situations where I was like, you know what? Why would I not?
That was part of me using the front locker, was just like, there's no point in me
tough guy in it through
and like bouncing it and blowing a CV or something like that. It was like,
let's crawl.
I'm very much one of the gentle, easy does it types. Yeah. So yeah, it was just when I needed it, turn the locker on, gently let it crawl its way through.
Yeah. I had to turn it on and off so I could turn many times. many times.
So on that subject, for those that don't know about ZR2 Colorados, if you steer really, really hard with the front locked and it won't come, even when you've turned it off and you can't get it to unlock because you haven't moved enough distance for it to unlock, it will turn your power steering into like a limp mode where it will no longer assist when you're at a high steering angle. So it like gives you power steering for, I want to say like a quarter turn, maybe half turn of the steering wheel. And then beyond that, it becomes difficult again. Like it wants to save your power steering components in some way so that it doesn't overpower something. But and it wouldn't reset just from turning the car on and off. It took like a little while for it to fully reset. I don't know if there's a way around that to circumvent it once it's gone into that mode. But that was like the one weird technical issue that I had that was like, I don't know how to fix that. Just going to have to deal with it for a little while, and then it would suss itself out. So, yeah.
Yeah, that must be what mine's doing, too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't have that problem.
No chance. Okay, bye, Jesse.
Bye, Jesse.
Yeah, I'm looking at Hydro Assist pretty serious now.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's great in town, but not on the trail.
Well. But just when it's got the front locked, right?
No, all the time.
Oh, okay.
It's way worse when the front's locked.
Yeah.
But it's always been that way. Like, I mean, it makes sense that it is, right? But like, it just does not keep up otherwise. It's a brand new pump. It doesn't seem to be, it might be frothing the fluid up a little bit. It might have some sort of air coming in, but it doesn't like, it puked it out one time because I put more in it. Because I thought, maybe it's a little low. And I put that power steering conditioner stuff in there.
Lucas?
Yeah,
Yes, Lucas.
I put some snake oil in there, and it puked that right back up. It was like, no, get that out of here. So I don't know. We'll see. That's something. I've always like had that issue with the Land Cruiser in general, and I thought the swap would help it, and it didn't. It helped it in town. I can turn in any parking lot now. No problems. Wow. I used to have a lot of trouble with that. I rebuilt the pump like twice and it never stayed. But on this trip, like I would start it up when it was cold and we would leave camp, dialed, get on the trail first little bit. I'm like, yeah, I can turn. Not even one obstacle in. And it would just be like, never mind. You can't turn. And before, I used to be able to slip it enough between like left foot braking and revving it up that I could get the revs high enough that it would work. It doesn't really seem to matter now. It just doesn't want to do that. So different stuff, different torque converter, different gearing, I'm sure. Or not I'm sure. It is different gearing in the transmission. So
well, and
I don't know.
The pump should be bigger now, right? Is the LS pump bigger than the Land Cruiser pump?
I couldn't tell you. One interesting thing is that Land Cruiser pump, the 1FZ one, is gear driven. It's driven off like the timing gears. Maybe it's a chain with a gear. I don't remember. And it's gear driven. Current one is obviously belt driven.
Yep.
I read somewhere in like one of the swap threads that technically it's like 500 psi too much capacity for the steering box. I don't know what the number is, but it's more more pressure than the steering box is supposed to be able to handle. And I thought, well, whatever. It's not that because it's not leaking. It's not doing any. It doesn't have any
not blowing
issues.
Seals out.
No, not at all. In fact, it held very well, which I was happy about. But it just doesn't want to turn at all. Like it's just like it's basically like having manual steering. Once you get really like if it's getting hot or it's crawling, it just doesn't want to do it. So.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
We'll probably fix that. If I go to a 40-inch tire, there's no way. Like, so maybe it has to have hydro.
Is there bigger
inline coolers
steering boxes
capacity?
So what's crazy is it's got it's got a small power steering cooler. It's got a big trans cooler. So I could do that. There are different pumps that exist, but there are higher volume or higher pressure. Obviously, I don't need higher pressure because it's supposedly already too much. Higher volume, I don't think I need because I don't think that the box is that much bigger than a Chevy truck. I can't imagine it is. Might be. I've never really looked into it, but I don't know. There's like Jesse's truck, the Suburban, he runs the higher volume pump for the hydro assist. And people do that because apparently to fill the RAM, you want to have quite a bit of volume. So I think that's ultimately the thing, I think that's what I should probably do. And I've always had this problem, so it seems like the natural issue. I guess it could be something with the box itself, but the box doesn't affect. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody that's listening and wants to tell me I'm an idiot,
comment below.
Yeah, but the box itself doesn't affect the steering effort really. I'm sure the gear ratio does, but that's fixed. So it leaks or it doesn't. It's sloppy or it isn't. It's mechanical. It's just a direct thing.
Yeah,
so
it's just a gearbox,
and it does not leak and it is not sloppy. It's fantastic that as sloppy and big as the thing is, it actually steers very well. So other than being hard, I do have a smaller steering wheel, which I know is not helping me, but it's not the problem. It is a problem for sure. But I don't know. It's kind of been a weird thing. It's always happened with it. I guess we're not getting Jesse back, huh?
Yeah, guess not.
Okay. Well, that's probably as good a time as any.
Yeah. What about Steve? Any weird issues with the Tacoma?
No, nothing really. I think I have to go in for just an alignment, but that's mainly.
I bet you do.
Yeah, it may have bent some steering rods.
It's mainly just because there's it's I've always had a slight pull to the right, but it's a little bit worse, so I just need to get it right. That's it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that is pretty impressive. Like, we kept joking around about Dave having huge balls and how great his truck was doing and this and that. And it did really well. Like, no lockers, 33s, nothing.
Yeah.
But Steve's truck's not much more than that. Like, it is stock with some suspension and some tire and some armor. And that's a pretty impressive, it's way bigger, a pretty impressive truck to get through that gnarly of a trail.
Yeah. The long wheelbase that Steve and myself and Luke were granted, Luke has a lot more suspension travel than what Steve or I have.
Yeah.
But because it's a fucking Jeep. But that the long wheelbase part of it and being slightly lower slung, that's a pretty big hindrance on a lot of the stuff on that trail.
Yes,
absolutely.
So yes, but it's the obstacles were fine. Like those parts were fine. It was the grueling other parts of fuck.
The endless in between.
Yeah, it was that part. Sometimes it's getting just into position for that one line, or it's like, oh shit. The real obstacle is getting through this little rock here that makes you lined up for this line coming in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is something that I think if you were to run it again very quickly, you would go, oh, okay. Like this, I knew what I did wrong this last time or something like that, because there were definitely things we got through that I was like, I did not pick you. I'm sure you heard me on the radio. I did not pick the right line. Yeah. I just got through it just by ground clearance or flex or power or whatever thing got me through in the moment that I got through. But if I was in Steve's rig or Dave's rig, I would have taken three shots or whatever to get through that, where I just went, this isn't right. Okay, we're through. It was, and I'm sure Jesse probably, maybe he didn't realize it, but I think he probably did the same thing where he would straight shoot through something, think it was okay, realize, this is kind of gnarly. And then you're on the other end because you have a bunch of tire or whatever. Yeah.
The disadvantage of being 100% first timers.
Yeah.
Not a single one of us have been there before.
Yep.
So we didn't know any of the quote proper lines or ways to do things. It was kind of just, we looked at everything and decided this is probably the best route for each car, for this car, for that car, for your car, for my car. So,
and again, two groups for half of it made for just completely different experiences.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to think about that.
Yeah. But if with a group of 14 plus, that it's tough to get everybody through.
Oh yeah.
So that's the two group, splitting the group definitely increased our mileage rate.
Oh yeah.
Pretty drastically.
Yeah, it was helpful. Yeah. It really was. I think that's, if somebody asked me for advice, that's two things. I'd say,
how big's your group?
Yeah, if you've got a big group, make sure you split it down into a few groups because it makes it much better.
Yep.
And then I think that podcast that mentioned no go arounds, just different lines, that was really helpful because you can look at an obstacle and go, okay, I know that, whatever vehicle that is like mine has made it through. What's the thing that I know that I can do, or what's the thing that's right where I want to do to have fun, or what's, the easy route through because I want to sleep through this one, basically, And I think that's probably a pretty good piece of advice to look at.
Yeah, and spotting isn't obstacles, it's sections.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
It's hey, would you spot me through this next 40 yards?
Yeah.
And that seems short, but it's a lot of boulders.
Oh, that's like
yards.
That's like an hour.
Yeah, there it's a long way.
There's two switchbacks in that 40.
Yeah, I was looking at that Matt's Offroad Recovery video today, and they went up Walker Hill. And one of the lines he took, I was looking at it, and I went, I didn't take that line. I could have, that line looked better than my line.
Yeah.
And then they got stuck in that spot where I got stuck. That Jeep got like it got bellied out
that's that's where Steve was stuck too.
Steve got stuck a little further than that.
Oh,
that was the first one where I was overheating and I kept getting kind of hung up. And then finally I stopped, turned off the truck and looked around. Everybody was like, why are you not way further passenger side? I got out of the rig and I went, oh, yeah.
Well, would you look at that?
Yeah, sure enough. I'm in the middle. There's no line here.
Yeah.
This is just a giant rock.
Yeah, that's also the spot where Dave knocked his taillight out.
That makes sense.
It's because he was so far right that it tipped him into that rock that was like in the bank on the right-hand side there.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but so since we're on the topic there, that was our final topic, I think, was Matt's off-road recovery video.
Days behind us.
Days behind us, because that Nissan was there right after the Soup Bowl when we drove through, and we kind of investigated it and saw that it was the rear axle was strapped in. So and then they went deeper and kind of showed that both leaf springs were busted in it basically. So they had tried to strap it together to move it, but it obviously wasn't getting off the trail without a lot of assistance. Yeah,
I'd be curious to know the whole story, like if it came in and that's where it landed, or if it went all the way in and back and that's where it landed,
or if it was running reverse and that's how far it got. I
don't know.
Unknown on that, but it was an interesting thing to know that they were a day or two probably behind us. And then to see their ridiculous vehicles dragging a Nissan Frontier backwards through was also wild. Very interesting.
I do have to say, watching the Morvere go through made me feel better. So watching the Wrecker, it walked through things. Of course it did. It's got giant tires. It's just whatever. It's huge too.
Giant tires, rear steer, all that.
But watching the Morvere, I was like, okay, that's a little more like in the wheelhouse of what we were doing. It wasn't so far.
A little closer.
Not completely, but a little closer.
It's still in 40s, and 42s, right?
It's built up. Yeah, but I was just 40s. Meaning a couple of lines it took. I went, okay. Yeah, that's where I was. Okay. Is it better than mine? Yeah, absolutely. But we're playing in the same area, the same sandbox here, which felt nice. So. But yeah, it was fun to watch. Definitely should, if you haven't watched that. If you haven't watched Matt's Off-Road Recovery, which I talk about way too much because I love it. It's the most wholesome show on YouTube. You should watch it. It's good. It's good news.
Yeah, and you get to see the Wrecker do the Soup Bowl, which is pretty wild to watch that thing.
No Hemi Ron on that one. No. Just drive up.
Creepy crawly, rear steer.
Low center of gravity.
The rear steer really helped too, because you could just basically walk it right up onto that ledge without having to slide or try to front dig or anything.
Yep. Yeah. Crab walked on Soup Bowl, basically. It was pretty cool.
I do love the it's that guy is so good at this too. He goes up to it and he says, to his son who's driving the rig, he says, do you want to, Colin, do you want to do Soup Bowl? And he says, yeah, I get, like, whatever. Yeah, I guess. And he's like, I think we should do Soup Bowl. And then he just looks at the camera and says, this is a terrible idea. We should not be doing this.
We shouldn't be doing this.
But we're going to do it anyways.
Yeah, we're here. We got to do it.
And that's so that's just like perfect for me. I think, perfect. That's what I would do.
That's essentially where we were.
Yeah, I said, I could at least put tires on it. And then once I got up, I was like, I think I can drive a little further. I don't know how I stopped. I stopped way sooner than I would have at home. So good for me.